Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I am your Loremaster, here today to examine Desna, the Song of the Spheres. However, slightly different from last week, this marks the second time of us getting a chance to examine the Starfinder counterpart of her faith. Her connection to stars making her an obvious god to not stay tied to Galarian. But either way, let's get started. So same as always, where can you find information on the worship of Desna when it comes to a Starfinder equivalent? First, the basic information comes from the core rulebook, just like all the main gods. Then, last year's Galactic Magic gave us more focused information on the faithful. Not a ridiculous amount, but it certainly helps, believe me. As for the full write-up of information, we were given that in the second book of the Drift Crashers Adventure Path, titled Nightmare Scenario. As for other interesting curiosities we are going to be looking at along the way, we have a quick dip into both Chronicles of the Righteous and the Attack on the Swarm Adventure Path. All around, it will be an interesting journey. Desna has long been connected to the star Senosure, which serves as Galarian's North Star. However, because of its unique positioning/magic, the star serves as true north on many worlds, meaning billions revere Desna as Queen of the North Star. And with those billions, there are those who develop an interest to touch the stars, and therefore have left their homes behind to chase the lights in the sky, praying to Desna for safe passage through her domain. Which already brings us to our first side tangent, the part of the show where the party never stops. Starfinder has given us plenty on Senosure, so let's synthesize it into a side tangent, shall we? Senosure is neither a star nor planet, but a demiplane which Desna calls home. As being as large as Desna desires it, the rolling hills and sparkling pools stretch on for miles. Here, people who Desna personally invites take up residence for, well, however long they wish. These are Desna's followers we're talking about, anyway, you know. Built around Desna's own sevenfold palace, some of the sights for those visiting include the ports, which are full of foods for any space travelers, the Amaranthian Theater, where the best performances in the galaxy happen, the Wanderer's Rest, which is the premier hotel of the Demiplane, the series of green spaces known as the Midnight Lanes, which snake along the area, eventually converging into a central park, the Stardust Cafe, which is one of the premier diners in Senosure, and finally, the Somnium Spire, which broadcasts dreams across the plains. Desna has been known for many millennia on Galarian as an elven beauty, often showing her divinity with a pair of bright butterfly wings. However, many knew, historically, that she began life as a space moth before taking humanoid form. And now, with humans accepted and highly acclimated deity, she has no real reason not to show her insectoid form. Most often she takes the form of a silvery moth, still humanoid in overall shape, still with her signature shining blue wings wrapped around behind her. Desna's faith is varied, there being as many interpretations of the faith as there are stars in the night sky. And let's not forget there's no central hierarchy to her faith, so. Common forms shrines take are small places for travelers to visit, and Desna's faith has booths in large cities where you can get books out of vending machines. But one of the most common practices among the faith are what are known as Desna chambers. While even regular ships can be blessed by Desna, considering her iconography are typical decorations for ships, and typical shrines for Desna are in the form of 7 stars, which are also common decorations for ships. Desna chambers are special rooms with no lights and a viewport open to stars. Some even have the ability to disable gravity, so you can float in the starlight, all to commune with Desna in a holy embrace. Though, just between you and me, a corner of a starport can become a shrine for Desna if enough travelers visit it, so. But some take the Desna Chambers and their concept to the extreme, as seen as our second side tangent, the House Unhindered. This cluster of asteroids has become a training ground for those who want to dance among the stars. Founded by a pirate who found himself lost in space, on the verge of giving up, when suddenly Desna sent him a gift, an asteroid just large enough to plant his foot on. And looking in the distance, there was another, and another, and another. He hopped from small asteroid to small asteroid until he found himself back to safety. Wanting to give others the chance to commune with his goddess as he had, he pushes his students to the limit to learn to travel from asteroid to asteroid, all on foot, just like he once did. So, who are the worshippers of Desna? Well, some things may change, but some things stay the same. It is those who travel, those who find the road their home, who call upon Desna. The only difference is that many have traded the road for space. Those who spend the most time in space, whether pilots or navigators, are those who Desna calls among her own. That said, her domain still includes luck and guess what just has been just as popular regardless of how much life has changed. That's right, gambling. Gamblers still give Desna their silent prayers whenever a tight hand is laid on the table, knowing that the lady's blessing is ever only temporary. Soldiers and magic users do remember her blessings, though she's not as popular a deity as some others among them. And let's not forget, many a performer has literally sung Desna's praises before disappearing, said to have been taken by the goddess directly to Sinistra. Oh, and pirates. Good pirates are also align with Desna. And when it comes to a priesthood, well, I wish I could say more, but they can come from any species and any walk of life. To expect it to be easy to paint a picture of her faith is a sure sign of someone not understanding Desna's faithful. The practices of the faith are varied, but some common ones include getting tattoos of Desna's holy symbol. Looking at more individualized expressions of faith, for the Fermians on Castrovel, she is known as the wings of the Parthian exile, as freedom is not really the most celebrated concept to the hive society. However, in some hives, the queens have begrudgingly elected to allow Fermians to leave their home, blessing them as potential new queens, and sending them on their way to build their own hives. The Kasatha, having traveled for centuries on Starship, of course have shrines dedicated to their guardian from during the events. And then we have Apostate, where rebels known as Star Children worship the goddess in secret in the midst of the demon worshippers, scarring their bodies with acid burns in the shape of 7 stars, and work to get refugees off the dismal world. And elsewhere in the Pack world, wherever the stars stand proudly in the night sky, her followers can be found. So, places that have a lot of night sky like Versex or Traxia, those are places that you're likely to find lots of shrines. Which brings us to our third side tangent. Someone we cannot talk about, someone who we cannot talk about Desna without mentioning at least once. Her shadow, the black butterfly. This is especially since we have special mentions of her from the Kasathas and Star Children holding her in high regard. Let us say that Once, while she was placing stars in the night sky, Desna noticed that she had accidentally made a pattern. When she purposely finished the pattern, a shadowy form formed from the space between the stars stepped forth, being the black butterfly. Serving as Desna's shadow, this living silhouette painted in the stars works to protect those who travel, as well as those who go through life in stillness and silence, whether by choice or not. She is especially known to fight against the forces of the Dark Tapestry. Due to the two deities' connection, it is not uncommon for faithful of the Black Butterfly to share some of the same rituals and services as Desna's worshippers, especially since the Imperial Lord also calls Sinistral home. But as usual, the best part of Starfinder God entries is the look at culture. So let's look at books which make the faith. First, of course, the 8 scrolls are still her holy text, but now digitized to take up even less space. However, now with the recent drift crisis, more writings have become an interest to the faithful. Those known as drift journals, which are writings which talk about the life and death events for those who dealt with the drift crash directly. Which, as a faith about travel, these always tend to be thrilling. Walking away from writing and into music, there are many songs devoted to Desna. Some even her holy scriptures in song form. Or the other way around, the chapel/infosphere known as Stellar Tempo uses popular songs as hymns to the Song of the Spheres. Finally, the app Starsight allows a worshipper to tag and read digital graffiti, allowing them to mark the best and the worst places to visit while traveling. And this in turn brings us to our final side tangent, graffiti. That's right, real-world art history, just how I like it. Graffiti is art upon a wall, usually but not always in public view, and usually but not always without permission. Now, graffiti has existed since ancient times. See murals which do fall under the requirements, and of course some ancient languages we only know about because of traces of graffiti. But in the modern day, it is usually considered a form of vandalism, and associated with gangs in most countries. But not all. Graffiti, more modernly, was used by soldiers during the world wars as something to do to pass their time. One of the saddest and most famous examples is a soldier writing his name in the same place during both wars. And of course, on a lighter note, the famed Kilroy was here. With the advent of aerosol paint, it quickly began to be associated with punk rock and hip-hop. As for countries which have adopted the art form, Brazil has a rich graffiti scene. The Middle East, it has been used in countries torn apart by war conflict. An example being the West Bank Wall. And then the Philippines. They collect styles from all around the world and put it right there on the streets for all to see. Just thought I'd list some so as for inspiration for more followers of Desna, and inspirations you and your table might borrow from. And that gets us to the end of Desna. That is 2 of the 20 main deities of Starfinder down, with us unfortunately having full write-ups for only 6 of them so far. Hopefully we'll get more in the future, but with Starfinder Adventure Pass pushed aside for now, unfortunately do not know when we will be able to cover more. But in terms of Pathfinder, Desna was our second to last of their main 20. So we will be finishing that next month. But we still have time between now and then, and next week we are finally doing a video I have wanted to do for a while. I'll see you then.